Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
We're also following breaking news out of Washington, D.C. today.
The founder of the Oath Keepers, Stewart Rhodes, was just sentenced to 18 years in prison for his role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Rhodes was found guilty of seditious conspiracy last November. This is now the longest sentence to be handed down to a January 6th defendant thus far. NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us now from outside the courthouse. Ryan, it was a long sentencing hearing. What more can you tell us about how it all went down?
That's right, including a lengthy statement from Stewart Rhodes himself, who tried to make himself out as some sort of political prisoner, got in there that he hopes that Trump wins in 2024, which is, of course, something that a lot of January 6th defendants are hoping because Trump has commented that he may pardon some, if not all of them, during some of his recent campaign appearances. But the judge rejected all of that and said that Stewart Rhodes is not a political prisoner. He's here because of his actions that day, and pointed to a lot of Rhodes's rhetoric going back for more than a decade, until back to the early Obama era, and when he first started the Oath Keepers, talking about violent action against the government and trying on January 6th to impose his will upon the country, even though his preferred candidate lost. Kate.
And Ryan, I wonder, does Rhodes' sentence suggest anything about what could be in store for other January 6th defendants?
I think it does, especially Enrique Tarrio will be the interesting one that we have forthcoming. He was, of course, also convicted of seditious conspiracy. He was the head of the Proud Boys, but this is the longest sentence that we've seen to date. It was a bit short of what federal prosecutors wanted. They had hoped for 25 years in federal prison, but 18 years in prison is something to write home about. It's a significant sentence and the longest that we've seen thus far, and sort of sets a benchmark, I think, for these potential sentences going forward. But this will be at the upper end of what ultimately I think we see coming out of these January 6th cases altogether, because while there are some very violent offenders who have yet to be sentenced, those cases are few and far between. This was the biggest conspiracy case that we saw thus far that talked more about these broader issues rather than individual violent action. Here's in Clay.
Yeah, 18 years sentence. That's no small thing. Ryan Riley, thank you so much.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Good to see everybody. So, today it's a nice day out. It's going to get nicer by Sunday. We're going to be up in the 80s here. So, hey! And of course, it's Memorial Day weekend. So everybody, on Monday, the banks are closed, for those of you who forget. Okay, and I know there's a lot of people out there that do. The banks are not open on Memorial Day. Anyway. So, some good news here. Oath Keepers, the founder of the Oath Keepers, Stewart Rhodes, got 18 years in prison for his role in the January 6th insurrection, which was a surprise to everybody, because that's like the longest that anyone has ever been sent to prison for over this, or being punished. It's the biggest punishment thing and it just might change, from this point on, with more people that we round up here for what they did on January the 6th. The punishments may be more severe from this point on because, of what they were able to do with this guy here. It's it's a happy day, because a lot of us feel like, you know, anybody that was involved in that day really shouldn't have gotten away with anything less than, you know, 5 years in prison or something like that, you know, because some of them only got probation or a fine or something like that. You know, it's laughable. But I guess it all depends on what the FBI feels, you know, how bad they contributed to the event that day. You know, they're trying to be fair, but I think for a lot of people it was too fair. But at least in the case of this guy, he wasn't given any leeway. So here's a story here on that, here from Yahoo News, I guess, written by Dylan Stableford. Stewart Rhodes, the founder and leader of the Oath Keepers, was sentenced today to 18 years in federal prison for seditious conspiracy in connection with the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Prosecutors had sought 25 years. Still, it was the longest sentence handed down to date for any of the more than 500 people convicted in this case. Earlier this month, Peter Schwartz of Kentucky was sentenced to 14 years for attacking police officers with pepper spray in a chair as he stormed the Capitol. Rhodes was convicted in November following a 2-month trial that showcased the far-right extremist group's violent plot to overturn President Biden's election and keep then President Donald Trump in power. Rhodes' lawyer said he will appeal. Here's everything we know about the landmark case and the Justice Department's ongoing efforts to prosecute those who were involved in the deadly insurrection. The seditious conspiracy law was enacted after the Civil War to deter Southerners from conspiring against the U.S. government. The crime occurs when 2 or more people conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force those in power. Sedition has rarely been charged in the United States. According to the AP, the Associated Press, the last time U.S. prosecutors brought a seditious conspiracy case prior to the Rhodes case was in 2010, when 9 members of the Huttery militia in Michigan were charged with inciting an uprising against the government. They were acquitted on the sedition conspiracy charges at a 2012 trial. Rhodes and 10 of his co-conspirators were the first January 6 defendants charged with sedition. Yes, Kelly Meggs, leader of the Oath Keepers Florida chapter and one of Rhodes' co-defendants, was also found guilty of seditious conspiracy and sentenced Thursday to 12 years in prison. 3 other defendants, Kenneth Harrelson, Jessica Watkins, and Thomas Caldwell, were acquitted of the sedition charge, but all 5, including Rhodes and Meggs, were convicted of obstructing Congress's certification of Biden's electoral victory. 4 other Oath Keepers, Joseph Hackett, Roberta Minuta, David Morshall, and Edward Vallejo, were convicted of seditious conspiracy during a second trial in January. Earlier this month, former Proud Boys national chairman Enrique Tarrio was convicted of the rarely used charge alongside other leaders of his far-right group. They will be sentenced later this year. During the trial, federal prosecutors sought to prove that the defendants conspired to prevent Congress from certifying Biden's win. The defense argued that they didn't really have a plan. Quote, "I never had any plan or intention to have my guys try to prevent certification of election results," unquote, Rhodes told the jury. The 57-year-old from Granbury, Texas, who did not enter the Capitol on the day of the attack, said he thought those who did were stupid to do so. Quote, "I think it was stupid to go into the Capitol. It was not our mission. If they had asked me, I would have said don't," he testified. In closing arguments, Rhodes' defense lawyer, James Lee Bright, acknowledged that in the run-up to January 6, Rhodes and his co-defendants did engage in a lot of, quote, "horribly heated rhetoric and bombast," unquote. But he told jurors that their, quote, "venting," unquote, was not a crime. Quote, "We've had 50 witnesses in this case. Not one person has testified that there was a plan," unquote, Bright argued. Quote, unquote, "not one." During a court hearing on Wednesday, police officers and congressional staffers delivered impact statements recounting the physical and emotional trauma they said they are still suffering from their clashes with the pro-Trump mob at the Capitol on January the 6th. We, quote, we experienced physical trauma, emotional trauma, and mental trauma, unquote. Metropolitan Police Officer Christopher Owen said, quote, the traumas we suffered that day were endless, unquote. Officers described chaos. Before handing down his sentence Thursday, U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta said he found that Rhodes' actions before and during January 6 amounted to, quote, unquote, domestic terrorism, and that he was, quote, targeting an institution of American democracy at its most important moment, unquote. Rhodes addressed the court Thursday, claiming he is a, quote, political prisoner, unquote, and comparing himself to Trump. Like Trump, Rhodes said the only crime he has committed is opposing people who are, quote, destroying the country, unquote. The Justice Department continues to try the more than 1,000 Capitol riot cases it brought against those who allegedly took part in the January 6 attack, while Special Counsel Jack Smith continues his investigation into the Trump's role in inciting the insurrection. So, you know, this thing is going to go on a lot longer here because, like I said, they've only got 500 people, but there were thousands there that day at that rally, or that rally, at that terrorist strike, okay? And regardless of what this guy here from Oath Keepers is saying, these people here didn't have a plan, but they didn't need one because the plan was obvious: to disrupt, to destroy everything. I mean, they're standing in front of the Capitol, right? How much planning do you think you need to to go in there? They outnumbered the cops like 500 to 1, for Christ's sake. I mean, there wasn't enough people there that day to stop that crowd. So no planning was really needed. All they'd do was show up with some kind of weapon or whatever, okay, and just go run right over these friggin' cops, okay? Push them, shove them, beat them, whatever they had. I mean, obviously, you didn't have to plan. The plan was get these people riled up so they'll go, to become an unstoppable force. That's the plan, okay? And for him to come out and say, oh, we didn't plan that, like it's some kind of defense, is laughable, because when you have that many people on your side and you got just a handful in front of you that you have to go over, you know, you don't need a plan. All you just got to do is get everybody angry enough to run right over these folks, okay? And that's what they did. They went over them, they beat them, they, killed some people, okay? That's all these folks needed in order to get into that Capitol. Once they were in there, did you see this guy telling people, stop, don't go in there? Of course not. But for him to say, well, if I knew they were going to go in there, I would have said, don't. Bullshit. Don't give me that fucking crap. Everybody that was there that day was hoping they could get into that Capitol because they were going after Mike Pence. They were going after Mike Pence because Donald Trump basically told them that Mike Pence betrayed him, and he needs to pay the price for it, basically. So in everyone's mind, that was the only plan they had at that point, was just to get past the barricades, get past the Capitol Police, get through the doors, get inside, and look for that bastard. That was it, okay? And there wasn't enough guards there to stop those people. All they could do was evacuate the politicians in there, get them the hell out of the building, okay? That's the only thing that they could do, because they could not stand up against that crowd. All right? But that was the whole thing. I mean, God only knows what would have happened if they'd have got their hands on Mike Pence. I don't know what would have happened. And I doubt Trump would have said anything about it anyway, okay? Or he might have just said, well, I didn't tell him to go after Pence, after he just told him to go after Pence, in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he would have talked out of both sides of his mouth there just to cover his own ass. I mean, that's basically what he's about, Donald Trump, is cover my ass and take as many people and throw them under the bus as you can so you can get away with the crime. That's it. And so the planning was really on Donald Trump's part. Everybody else was just pawns in his little game that he was playing to try and maybe get back in. I don't know if he even thought it would be possible that the country would have legitimized him going back into the White House after an overthrow like that. Okay, I'm not even sure how that would have played out in this country. Okay, would the military would have gone into after Trump and, you know, and just told him to surrender? I mean, who knows how far it would have got if these people killed Mike Pence, okay, and forced the people to certify Trump as the winner. I mean, how far along do you think this would have went before the people in the country would have pushed for a military coup to get rid of Trump? So that way, you know, the person that was elected would be in there, Biden. Okay, I mean, I don't think Trump really thought that far ahead. I mean, I guess he really figured that he had enough friends on his side to be able to put down any revolt in the country that would have demanded him to get out of the White House because he didn't belong there. Okay, I don't know, but it certainly wouldn't have been it would have been a worse debacle than what happened you know, in reality here. But, you know, like I'm saying, I just don't think Trump really thought that far ahead. I think he was just in this to, you know, pushing this to destroy Mike Pence. Okay, I think that was what his problem was that he got pissed off by Pence not standing up for him or whatever, and I don't know why Pence didn't stick to his guns and just shit all over Trump like he should have done, but he didn't. I don't know. It's a very complex, very bizarre, and mysterious kind of relationship that Pence has with Trump. I mean, Trump tries to railroad him, and then now Pence kisses his ass. I mean, I don't know. You know, you know, the guy has some kind of devil on his side for whatever he does. But the fact is Joseph Hackett and Robert Minuta and the others of the Oath Keepers that were convicted, they just, like I said, the Oath Keepers and then the Proud Boys. I mean, you know, these groups are not what you call political groups, okay? They're more like terrorist outfits waiting for the time in which to strike. Okay, that's what they're there for. In the meantime, they get their money, they get their supporters, and they pay dues and all this shit, and they keep the anger boiling, all the time boiling. So when the time comes, like what happened on January 6th, these people can get up at a start and hit the ground running to go and do what they want, you know. But that's all they're about. And unfortunately, you know, I don't think there's any way that we're ever really going to get rid of groups like that in this country. Okay, I really don't, because as long as we have outfits like the KKK and the Anti-American Confederation, or whatever the fuck they call themselves, you know, we're always going to have people like that in the shadows, you know, trying to topple things, try to destroy things, and paying off politicians to help them do it. Okay, we're always going to have that problem. And so we have to make sure that our FBI and our police forces and all of them are well funded in order to be able to root these people out as they come up. I mean, to say that we shouldn't be helping them out is ridiculous. I think these days, more than anything, we have to make sure that, you know, our institutions are operating as they were meant to, not become part of the bludgeon that is inside the racist and fascist kind of part of our country. We have to make sure that those folks don't get their hands and their control over those people who protect, you know, our country from enemies within. Okay, and I hate to see the day the military has to get called up in order to control such people, because if it comes to that, we have a really serious problem here in this country, and, you know, it's not going to look good for the government. So I think, in retrospect, if things are getting as bad as the FBI explains to people, then obviously defunding police and FBI and all that is not an option. Okay, we can't afford to defund them because the problems in this country are too deep. Okay, we got too much crime, too much, you know, fascist people mobilizing in America. You know, we got a lot of things that are just not kosher here with this country, and we shouldn't try and pretend that these things don't exist, because they do. They exist. You know, they're all around us. Some of we don't even know half the time who is or who can't be trusted. All right, so I feel like that these convictions here like what happened with this guy from the Oath Keepers here. These convictions are important, and that way the people understand that, you know, democracy's still there, and you're going to answer for it if you try to topple it. Okay, and people like Rod Stewart Rhodes here, whatever the hell his name is, you know, he's one out of thousands, okay, that tried to do what they did, and we have to get them all if we can, you know, or find them. Some of them are still on the run, trying to avoid capture, okay, and if they're smart, they'll never step foot in the United States again, because they're really what do you call it, you know, aliens now to this country. I mean, their citizenships ought to be revoked as far as I'm concerned. If you can't get them, take away their social security number and their citizenship and just declare them foreigners now. And if they come into this country, arrest them or deport them back to some other country of their choice. But that's what the United States ought to do, is just take away their rights to be in this country, you know. So that's what I say to that. All right, let's go to commercial break. We shall return.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
My 4-year-old nephew Bear.
Yeah.
He is obsessed with X-Men. Obsessed with X-Men. And I'm like, Bear, I'm an X-Men. And he's like, no, the real X-Men. And I'm like, it's like the most infuriating.
You have a video of little Bear, you trying to talk to him. This is really funny.
Is like a mild version of what he does.
Here is Jennifer and Bear.
You know that I'm an X-Men? Bear, I play Mystique in X-Men. Acknowledge it. He hates it. He hates it.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. So yesterday in Congress, something got everybody laughing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess, got pissed off when people who were talking about the debt ceiling, I guess they were getting rowdy and stuff, and then she basically tell everybody we need to have order here while she was pounding her gavel. And it's like, you know, she said, quote, "I ask that the House be in order and there be some decorum on the other side," unquote. That's what Scalise said, rather, I'm sorry. And coming from Marjorie Taylor Greene about, oh, there should be more, some decorum here, was a joke. Everybody was laughing because, you know, she's usually the one that everyone's bitching about because she's the one that shows up with no decorum, you know, and saying things, and they're always after her to keep her mouth shut and to act, you know, respectful. And so, you know, this time, you know, it was all the other way around, and that's why everybody was in there laughing, you know. So I guess, you know, I guess you had to be there to find the humor in it, because, I mean, the rest of us who follow the politics understands, you know, what she is, okay? She's just a rebel rouser, okay? She has nothing to bring to the friggin' floor whenever there's, you know, something to talk about. All she's got is mudslinging, you know, and, you know, colorful anecdotes and all this stuff, you know, and half the time what she tells people, she gets the facts all wrong and everything, and it gets shown in her face, you know, that you know, you screwed up when you said this and all. You know, she's useless as a politician, okay? The less she says, the better for her, to be honest. But yeah, the people, they were kind of, you know, they're getting raucous. I mean, this thing here about the debt ceiling is ridiculous, okay? Why we're taking this so long to get to a fucking solution here is it's beyond ridiculous, okay? This is obviously intentional. When you look at it this way, it's not because people can't come to an agreement. It's because they don't want to come to an agreement. They don't want to take any compromise or anything like that, okay? And they're deliberately doing this because they want Biden to look bad, okay? They want Biden to look bad, and they're going to, they won't stop at nothing, okay, to see to it that he fails here at something, because he's been making too many successes here in his presidency, and Republicans can't afford that, okay? It's better for their chances to win the White House again if the country limps into the election again with a damaged presidency, you know, and all this stuff, and that way he can be easily replaced, because people are stupid. All right, they don't follow politics close enough to know who's really holding up the fucking works here, okay? They don't know, because most of the time people are just too damn exhausted to come home, turn the TV on, or turn on something and get some news put in their heads, okay? And get it from a good source. People can't do that, and they know this. So what do? They take the shows that are out there that people they know watch more of, and they get their information from that. And as you saw with CNN and that stupid town hall that Trump did here a few days ago, it's laughable, okay? And just so people know, that town hall thing didn't actually make much of an impression on this country, okay? The only people who watched that were predictably the ones who support Trump, okay? So they were preaching to the choir by putting this thing out there. What did they get from it? They didn't get no ratings, okay? In fact, they said, you know, fewer people watched the town hall than they expected, all right? And some people actually were very upset with CNN for having put Trump on there, you know, the day of his conviction in that rape case that he was in this week or whatever, last week, okay? And they felt like, you know, how dare CNN put a criminal on the screen, you know, who wants to run for president and try to make him look legit, okay? He was telling the same lies he'd been telling all along. Okay, so we didn't get anything different out of this guy. He's going to do the same playbook here that he's been doing all along. That's been costing Republicans their seats and everything, and he's still doing it. So he hasn't changed. His tactics haven't changed, and his support has suffered. And the only thing they could think of in order to give Trump that kick in the ass that he needs to get back into the White House is to destroy this country, to destroy the economy. And that, you know, and it would behoove them not to make any deals with Biden. And that's why I say Biden really shouldn't waste his time with the GOP. Fuck them, okay? He just needs to invoke the 14th Amendment now, get it over with so that way we can move on. Let the Republicans fight this out in the courts and stuff like that till they're blue in the face, okay? But for right now, Biden's #1 concern is the health of this country, because not only does American people have to depend on how our country stands, the rest of the world does too, because like it or not, we are part of a global economy. What we do does not just affect this country, it affects the world. And other countries are looking at us right now, wondering if they're going to lose jobs or something like that because of the value of our dollar going down in the toilet. Okay, which is possible. And the fact that so many Americans depend on the government to get their you know, their disability checks and their Social Security and their Medicare and all that stuff. If any of those programs are affected because of the default, okay, you're going to have problems on the streets that will make January 6th look like a fucking Sunday picnic, okay? I swear to you, nobody's going to put up with that. And it ain't going to be just Democrats. It'll be Republicans and Democrats at the same time going after it. It'll be the only thing that'll probably unify this country after all this division would be to actually default the nation on its bills, because Republicans think it sounds cool to default the country until it happens, and then they find out that, hey, you know what, you're taking a bite out of this thing just like the rest of us. You guys are going to suffer too, all right? And when that happens, when they start seeing that they can't pay their bills anymore, and government banks are taking away homes again, they're going to be out there as mad as everybody else. And before you know it, I mean, we already saw how easy it is to get these people to riot. Imagine defaulting the country, and not even a year will go by, and we'll be at each other's throats, or at the government's throats, demanding action be taken. Okay, so like I said, this is ridiculous. That this conversation's still going on, and it's getting heated in Congress. And the last person they need to get, demands for decorum from is Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay? The one who really is an instigator for as much division in America as she can possibly create, Okay, so here's a story here that's probably going to be a story we'll probably be hearing a lot of here in days to come. And this takes place in Indianapolis. This is written Tom Davies from Cincinnati.com, the Inquirer. entitled Indiana Doctor Faces Discipline Hearing Over 10-Year-Old Ohio Girl's Abortion. An Indiana board is set to hear allegations Thursday that an Indianapolis doctor should face disciplinary action after she spoke publicly about providing an abortion to a 10-year-old rape victim from neighboring Ohio. The medical licensing board's hearing comes after Indiana's Republican Attorney General accused Dr. Caitlin Bernard of violating state law by not reporting the girl's child abuse to Indiana authorities. She's also accused of breaking federal patient privacy laws by telling a newspaper reporter about the girl's treatment. Bernard and her attorneys maintained that the doctor followed Indiana's child abuse reporting requirements as the girl's rape was already being investigated by Ohio authorities. Bernard's lawyers also say she didn't release any identifying information about the girl that would break privacy laws. The Indianapolis Star cited the girl's case in a July 1st article that sparked a national political uproar in the weeks after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last June, putting into effect an Ohio law that prohibited abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. Some news outlets and Republican politicians falsely suggested Bernard fabricated the story until a 27-year-old man was charged with the rape in Columbus, Ohio. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita's complaint asked the licensing board to impose, quote, appropriate disciplinary action, unquote, but doesn't specify a requested penalty. The Indiana board, made up of 6 doctors and 1 attorney appointed by Republican Governor Eric Holcomb, could vote whether to impose any penalties Thursday after hearing what is expected to be several hours of testimony. State law gives the board wide latitude, allowing it to issue reprimand letters to suspend, revoke, or place on probation a doctor's license. Amid the wave of attention to the girl's case last summer, Rokita, who was stridently anti-abortion, told Fox News he would investigate Bernard's actions, calling her an, quote, abortion activist acting as a doctor, unquote. Quote, this case is about 2 things, and 2 things only, patient privacy and this doctor's failure to protect this child, unquote, he said in a statement this week. Ohio's law imposing a near ban on abortion was in effect for about 2 months before being put on hold as a lawsuit against it plays out. Bernard unsuccessfully tried to block Rokita's investigation last fall, although an Indianapolis judge wrote that Rokita made, quote, clearly unlawful breaches, unquote, of state confidentiality laws with his public comments about investigating the doctor before filing the medical licensing complaint against her. Bernard lawyer Kathleen Delaney has called the complaint against the doctor baseless attacks done at taxpayer expense. Quote, Rokita's actions set a dangerous precedent imperiling the provision of lawful patient care, unquote, Delaney has said. So, I'm glad that, Dr. Bernard helped the girl, okay? A 10-year-old girl, pregnant. I mean, Jesus Christ. How can anyone not understand the implications of what that could do? I mean, it's just ridiculous. But, for her to, tell everybody about it, I think was wrong, I think. But, this is happening at a time where people are fighting, women are fighting for their right to keep abortion as an option for their medical needs. I mean, for Christ's sake, I mean, unless, it starts with guys. I mean, the men are the ones that fucking have these black and white reasons for why abortion is what it is, okay? They can't understand it from a woman's perspective because men don't get pregnant, okay? And I know people are going to say, oh, so we have to be women. Or it's like, no, okay? Would you expect women to rule on what you do with your dick, whenever you want to do something with it? I mean, would you think that was okay? You know, because women don't know what it's like for a guy, you know, to have a penis. I mean, Jesus Christ. The same thing is in reverse here about women and their medical needs. Men shouldn't even be really involved in that. But it's the men that overturn the goddamn Roe versus Wade, right? And the fact that, you know, there's still so much angst and bitching about it from the right wing, and the fact that the majority of the country didn't want Roe versus Wade to overturn, okay, and I'm talking about a big majority of the country, including Republicans in that fact. More than almost 85 to 90% of the country is in favor of abortion. So the Supreme Court, in all their silliness, did something that's against the majority of this country, okay? The minority of people who side with the Supreme Court are still the minority, even worse, even less than they were before, okay? And yet their voices get heard and evaluated and approved over the mass of the majority. How is that considered a democracy? Okay, and so this is the reason why why this kind of thing here happened, is you're trying to, you know, people are trying to fight back to get the rights of abortion back as we had it, okay? But as you can see, it's falling on deaf ears because we got the wrong people in the wrong places in this country, okay? And we have our priorities in American politics all backward. Okay, it's majority rule, not minority rule. That's not the way the founders of this country wanted it. Okay, it'd be different if the majority of the country was against abortion. Okay, we wouldn't really have much to do about it except to continue voicing the need to have it. But since we did all that and we got it, okay, what right does the right wing have to turn around and, against the popular opinion of the country, say, fuck you, we don't care what you think, we're going to have it my way, okay? It'd be like me, you know, standing up to 100 people. 100 people want to eat, and I'm the one that says, no, we don't deserve, we shouldn't eat. And I'm the one that's controlling the fucking cafeteria, okay? And I shut it down so nobody eats. What gives me the right to tell, you know, 100 people they can't eat because, you know, I don't want them to eat, you know? Because I have a leverage over the damn cafeteria, so I'm basically forced. That's a fascist move on my part, okay? It's one person ruling over 100 people. You know, the minority getting the more influential voice, and that's not fair. That is not fair. And fairness has got nothing to do, really, with politics in this country, because it's already set in stone as to how it's supposed to be run, and it's not good enough for the Republicans, because right now they find themselves always in the corner being boxed in because their policies don't sell, their practice doesn't sell, their ideals don't sell. People just don't like the things they talk about, because while the Democrats are always over on the other side talking about things that people are dealing with every day, okay, who complain about the things that make us struggle so goddamn much and never get ahead. The Democrats are talking about ways to fix that. The Republicans are on the other side saying, oh, we shouldn't let transgender people in the bathrooms, or we shouldn't let you know, women have abortion. They're out there dividing the country up, making it fight against itself. Okay, that's what they're doing. And folks, in all honesty, in all fucking honesty, those issues are not political, and they don't belong in government to be discussed, period. Okay? Our government is not there to talk about who gets to take a piss in the bathroom, okay? It's not there to tell people who they can screw in their bedrooms. It's not there, okay? It's not there to tell people, you know, you can't do this because it's against the good book or whatever the hell it is. That's not the government, okay? Republicans are always bitching about big government, okay? Well, what the hell do you think all that is that they're supporting? If that's not big government, I don't know what the hell is, okay? When the government's sitting there telling you how you live your life, that's more than just, you know, a country trying to keep itself functional. That's a government that's also infringing on your fucking rights of privacy, of how to live your life. Now, it's one thing if you're hurting somebody else by doing that, or hurting or killing them, okay? then you got a reason to bitch. But who was being hurt here? When a woman, you know, wants to have her right to an abortion, trying to help her, herself because she could be in danger. Or a little girl, 10-year-old girl that wants an abortion. Who is being hurt here when you're telling them they can't do these things? Okay? When they don't care about the situation. They don't care about the details of the issue. They don't want to hear the doctor's opinion. Okay? Who is being hurt here? Republicans don't care about details. That's why I say a lot of these people are black and white thinkers. It's yes or no. It's not maybe. Okay? They don't want to hear maybe. They just want people to yes or no. That's why when you ask these people, and we've already heard some of these folks talk about, you know, what if the situation is this, or what if the situation is that, and they stick to their guns. Okay? They don't care. They don't want to hear it. All right? They don't want to hear it. And God help us if we ever get what they want enacted into reality, because if some of these things happen and there's what do they call it? Circumstantial reasons here, you know, issues that make it more complex than just a yes or a no. They're just going to rule what they believe in, and they're not going to want to hear the argument. Okay? In other words, lawyers aren't going to be needed. You just step before the court, and whatever you're charged with is, you know, you're already guilty. Okay? They don't want anybody sitting here arguing in favor of this or trying to against that. They don't want to hear it. Details don't matter to the Republicans. They don't care. And that's what makes them very dangerous. Because you know where that leads, you know, when you do that kind of thinking there, that's fascism right there. You know, name a fascist country that ever gave a shit about what people thought about a certain rule, okay, and thought, you know, is this possibly hurting, you know, these people more, or is it hurting, you know, how is this really working out? Do they bother to take polls or anything like that to find out people's opinion on how no, they don't care, because it only matters to one person. You know, what's being done. And, you know, if you don't like it, they dare you to overthrow them. And that's the only way these fucking countries like Russia or China exist, you know, is if you can overthrow them, then you can get your way. But other than that, you're fucked. You know, your voice, your opinion don't matter to a hell of beans. I mean, it's just it. That's, you know, that's the reality of it. And Republicans, we have some Republicans in this country that would love to see that enacted here, would love to see that kind of philosophy in our government here, would basically like to tear it down and rebuild it in the image of China, okay? Where that came from, I don't know where that started. Better historians than I could probably explain to you how we got this fascist arm in our country here out there trying to destroy everything that makes America America. You know, it's like, you know, what the hell? You know, maybe some people, when they're born or something, should spend 5 years in a communist country and then come back to the States and find out what it's like to have freedom. Because apparently we've been spoiled rotten in America with freedom. We don't know what it's like to live in North Korea or China or Russia. We don't understand what it's like there. Okay? And until we do, I don't think we're ever going to get rid of these people who think fascism is the way to go in America. I don't think that's ever going to end. But these people who think they know what fascism can do, they're going to be in for the rudest possible awakening when it comes to seeing that in action here. Because things that they took for granted that they thought they could do on their own, you know, will immediately be stopped, okay? Because they're going to find out that those folks that they supported to create this fascist government are not going to be on their side at all, for any reason at all. The only side they'll be on is the side of corporations. And if the corporations want to fuck you over by giving you pennies for your labor, guess what? That's all you're going to get. And they don't care about you. You know, it's all about sucking the money out of us to go straight to the top, okay? If you think Republicans, you know, in the Trump side of things are mad, they'll be the first ones to be coming out screaming at the new form of government they wanted to see happen here. Okay, unfortunately, it would be too late for them. Okay, it would be too late for them, and it's so much easier to get things going in the direction that you want than it is to try and reverse that and go and just start over again. Okay, as you can see, I mean, it's just look how long it's taken just to try and undo a lot of things Trump did in those 4 years he was president. Okay, and it's running up against a lot of opposition from the right because they don't want that undone. They don't want those tax breaks to the rich to go away. You know, that's why they're trying to stick it to us. You know, instead of getting your money from the rich, let's get it from the poor. Okay, take away their Social Security, take away their military benefits, take away their Medicaid. You know, take away everything. Okay, anything but taking it from the rich. The rich don't need to pay taxes, right? That's their philosophy. The rich are important. Government isn't. All right, they want the government to stay the hell away from the rich and let them rip us off until there's nothing left for us to have, you know. And you know, anybody that thinks that that's a good way of running the country, you know, you're out of your fucking mind, and that's the way I see it. Anyway, that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great Memorial Day weekend. So please subscribe, comment. Let's have a little bit of some back and forth here. And you have any concerns or you want me to discuss something here, I will be happy to hear what your ideas are. And please keep your ears open. COVID-19 still out there. And you know, treat each other nice, especially this weekend, because people are going to be getting together in places and stuff. And you know, try and make the day. I mean, just that one day. Try and do something nice. Everybody do nice for one day. Just one day. That's all you got to do. Okay? No shootings, no nothing. Okay? Just curb your anger. You know, do like the reverse of The Purge. Remember the movie The Purge? Do the reverse for The Purge. No killing, no anger, no nothing. Let's just have 24 hours of peace in America. Okay, you can do all your shit later, but just wait, you know, and let's find out what it actually feels like to go a day without some violence or some pissing on somebody else's pool. You know what I'm saying? Just try it. Just try it. Okay, it might surprise you what it'd be like. All right, take care, everybody.